Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so we're going to do another review video. This is going to be a mini-series released in the mid-90s called Witchcraft. Okay, so it was written by James Robinson, and there's art by various artists, and this cover here is very nice by Mike Kaluta. You can see here where they kind of join together and they create this kind of nice looking spread here. All right. Okay, so Witchcraft was a three issue miniseries published by DC Comics Vertical Line in 1994. Witchcraft was a revamp of the DC Comics Witching Hour mystery horror series from the 70s. The original Witching Hour was an anthology series similar to Tales from the Crypt, etc., from the 50s, in which several supernatural short stories involving a twist ending would appear. The comic was hosted by three witches who were sisters Cynthia, Mildred, and Mordred. The Cynthia was the blonde, glamorous witch. Mildred was the chubby witch, and Mordred was the more traditional old hag witch. Each would introduce a story. A later revamp was published in the late 90s, early 2000s, featuring all new characters, and then a one-shot anthology was released in 2013. Okay, so the story is written by Eisner-nominated James Robinson, who had just done an art on Wildcats for Image Comics, and he also did the fan favorite The Golden Age for DC Comics. Soon, a couple of years later, Robinson became a star for his revamp of DC Starman and his creator-owned Leave It a Chance with Paul Smith. Robinson has other Marvel and DC titles and indie titles under his belt. The art is by Danish artist, I'm going to say his name wrong, Peter Steinberg, who has done various DC vertical titles. Excuse me, Michael Zully, known for Puma Blues with Stephen Murphy, various DC and vertical titles, and he did Alice Cooper's, a comic that tied in with Alice Cooper's Last Temptation with Neil Gaiman. I've got the first issue of that somewhere, but I never finished it. I should hunt those down one of these days. Steve Yao is probably most famous for the work he did for 2000 AD with Grant Morrison's Zenith and the New Adventures of Hitler. The framing device was drawn by Teddy Christensen, and the covers are by Mike Kaluta, famous fantasy artist from the 70s. Mike Kaluta does not get talked about a lot these days, but back in the 70s, early 80s, he was pretty big. He was a real popular fan favorite. His name would get mentioned along with people like, your Barry Windsor Smiths and your Neil Adams and other fantasy guys like the brothers Hildebrandt and Boris Vallejo. So he was really big at one time, but like I said, for whatever reason, people don't really talk about him that much these days. Now, the Witchcraft is an interesting miniseries. It works as an anthology, but it also works as a complete story. The framing device revolves around the assault and rape of, I'm not going to say it right, Hikat and her followers during the days of the Romans. She prays for vengeance, and the three witches hear her prayers. Hikat and her attacker will be reincarnated throughout the centuries until justice is done. It starts in the Roman days. Cynthia's story is set in 1342 London, where a girl from a convent is forced to marry a boorish man who may be responsible for the death of her father. Mildred's story centers around Richard Francis Bacon, who was a real-life explorer in the 19th century, and he's trying to get vengeance on the gypsy man that he feels has allegedly defiled his mother. And Mordred's story is set in the present day times about a submissive wife and her sexist husband who happens to be a warlock. The issues all work as individual stories, but they come together again as one complete work. It's interesting. Witchcraft is interesting in its handling of themes of like gender, revenge, sexism, and rape. Of course, this theory does deal with supernatural justice, but it also deals with gender issues in sometimes subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways. It's interesting how the idea is interesting. Okay, I wrote this kind of clumsily. It says it's interesting how the idea that witchcraft and paganisms are kind of like spaces that women are able to hold authority in, even though, of course, obviously men are involved in these things as well. But it's all kind of taken for granted throughout the series. Although not explicit, sexual coercion works its way into a couple of plots, and without getting too much away, there's even male-on-male rape, which in itself is interesting because that's a subject that's not usually mentioned in comics in a very serious way. Of course, like I said, the comic deals with a message of female empowerment without being too pandemic or dogmatic about it. Okay, so just to show you some of the art here. Okay, so here's the beginning by Teddy Christensen. All right. Okay. Then here, oh, what is this? Heart of the Beast. Monstrous Tale of Love in New York. I'm not sure what this is. I see the art here is by Sean Phillips. All right. Anyway, so this is some really nice art here by Peter. Again, don't know how you say that name. Steinberg, but I really like it. Really thick, solid lines here. Very nice. Like I said, heavy, solid looking stuff. Hellblazer. Okay. Death, High Cost of Living. I have this miniseries buried somewhere. Maybe in the future, we'll talk about that possibly. I don't know. Like I said, I have to like dig through some long boxes that are on top of other long boxes to find that one. All right. Okay, we don't want to give too much away here. All right. Okay. And then here's the art by Michael Zulli. Oh, no, wait, that's not it. Here's the art by Michael Zulli. Sandman Mystery Theater. Here we go. I really, really like this. I just really love this sort of kind of intricate, kind of delicate line work here. The three artists, or the three main artists, this is my favorite stuff here. Dr. Occult. I never read this, but I know this is like another old DC character from back in the day. Very nice. Okay, here's the whole gypsy camp here. All right. And then here's... Oh, wait. Here we go. And here's Mildred's story. Or Mordred's story. Books of Magic. Tim Hunter. All right. Here we go. Alice Cooper's Last Temptation. Oh, this is the album, though, I think. Yeah, this is the album. This isn't an ad for the comic. Okay, Steve Yall's art. It's nice. It's solid. It just comes across as just sort of like, just kind of functional, if you know what I mean. It's less expressive than the other artists, but it's still pretty good. All right. Woohoo! Moon Shadow. I believe this was originally printed by Marvel Comics back in the 80s, and I think J.M. DeMatteis just kind of, I think they just repackaged it and sent and did it under Vertical. I think that's what happened there. All right. Okay, so yeah. Neat. Okay, then there we go. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Witchcraft is solid, well-crafted miniseries. Makes good use of the past while updating the format. It's a fun supernatural tale with kind of a we'll say feminist message, but we'll say female empowering message, okay? And all right, and that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. You all have a great day.